I want you to put yourself in my shoes when I was 15 years old. You just discovered how amazing music can be, and you realize it's going to be your life's main passion. Your favorite bands are The Killers, Pearl Jam, and Tom Petty. You've got endless summers, no real ambitions yet, and an iPod Classic. The world is your oyster. So you decide it's time to start checking out the world's most acclaimed bands and artists. Some eventually stick with you, while others, although you appreciate them, don't call out to you so much yet. But what happens when you listen to one of the world's most celebrated bands to find out you secretly hate them? Well, here's a story on how I went from despising Radiohead to finding them to be musical geniuses and how everything became in its right place. Now, if you don't know who Radiohead are, they are a 5-piece English rock band that started in 1985. You have frontman Tom York, Johnny Greenwood on guitar and his brother Colin Greenwood on bass, Ed O'Brien on guitar, and Philip Selway on drums. At this time of recording, they have released 9 studio albums, have had worldwide success with singles like Creep and albums like OK Computer, but more importantly, they have had insane success with critics and especially their fan base. So why didn't they make sense to me for so long? Back when I was younger and I was discovering popular bands and artists, I would love to read online discourse about what fans and critics thought of them at the time. And back in the mid-2000s, there didn't seem to be a bigger and more well-loved band than Radiohead. The hype was huge, and the hype is something I think attributed towards my disdain for them for so long. Now, although that subject deserves its entire video in the future, we're going to move along for now. First thing I did when I learned about Radiohead was to start with their debut album, Pablo Honey. I know it's a lot of fans' least favorite, and I can see why. It feels not as fully baked as other albums. It's maybe a bit too raw in places, and it lacks the depth that their later albums would have. That said, Creep is still a go-to 90s banger, but I wasn't really moved by this album. Now, that's okay, I thought at the time. I'm not normally a fan of bands' debut albums, so I jumped forward to the band's groundbreaking album, Kid A. This album was and is still considered to be a masterpiece by fans and critics, and at the time was raved about by literally everyone. So, I should have loved it too, right? Unfortunately, wrong. There again, there was a disconnect. Songs like Idiotech, In Limbo, and the title track just left me confused and with a bad taste in my ears. What was I not getting? I was convinced that I was being pranked by the mass majority of music listeners and even by my own friends. So from that day on, I mentally decided that not only was this not the band for me, but that they were overrated, pretentious, and just plain bad.
What the fuck, man?
Now, before you click off the video or flame me in the comments, just remember, I love the band now. So what happened between now and then? Well, when I met my girlfriend Lindsay over our shared interest in Glenn Hansard's music, we went over who our favorite bands were, and one of hers was Radiohead. Now, I won't lie, I was pretty intimidated because over the years she's gotten me into a lot of great bands, and I still thought there is no way I'm gonna voluntarily listen to a band that looks and sounds like this. So, during one of our long-distance FaceTime dates, she asked me if I have heard their album In Rainbows. Of course, I hadn't, and she was shocked as she said it was one of her favorite albums of all time. She told me I needed to listen to it with an open mind, and how could I say no to her? Now, immediately first track in, I was extremely intrigued with 15 Steps jazz guitar chords and slinky bass line, Tom York's sleek vocals, and I was really surprised by how much I was actually enjoying it. The real surprise, though, came with the album's second track titled Body Snatchers. I loved everything about this song from the get-go. The fuzzy guitars, the odd rhythm that they play until the drums kick in, Tom's witty and funny lyrics, the clean and breath of fresh air that the bridge provides, and the overall energy that the band had on this track. Now, I was absolutely fucking hooked by just 2 songs into this album. By the time the album ended, I was blown away with what I had heard. Not only did the album have a perfect mix of sounds, layer, and vibes, but I actually really enjoyed it. So what changed? Well, for starters, I actually listened to one of their albums with no preconceived thoughts or expectations. I listened to it because the person I care for the most loved it, and I wanted to see why. But also because deep down inside, this was always going to be my favorite project from the band. It had the perfect amount of serious songs, fun instrumental moments, dynamic productions and tones, and insightful and poetic lyrics. Sometimes it's really just knowing someone's personality and interest in music to be able to recommend them an album that will instantly click with them. So, shout out to Lindsay. Now, afterwards, Lindsay basically said, "Hey dummy, thanks for catching up. Now it's time to go listen to OK Computer." So I did, and by that point, there was no turning back for me. OK Computer was easily my second favorite album from them. And no, not just because it was the second album I heard from them after listening to them with an open mind. It's really just because this album's so damn good. It's an album, in my opinion, where the band really came into their own. Don't get me wrong, I love the band, but OK Computer felt like something special. It's a masterpiece because each song feels distinctly different and yet somehow whole at the same time. You can groove to Airbag, you can ascend to the heavens with Subterranean Homesick Alien with its luscious guitars, you headbang to Electioneering, and you can feel wistful while departing with the Taurus at the end of the album's runtime. After this album, it was a journey for me to go through the rest of the band's discography. Albums like Kid A finally clicked with me. Sure, I still don't love every single song on it, but I could see why it was such an inspiration for so many bands back in the 2000s. I discovered that I'm kind of in the camp of fans who think Hail to the Thief is an underrated record, and to a lesser extent, King of Limbs. I can understand why people don't like this one as much because it has some really complex and interesting rhythms and structures, but one of Lindsay and I's favorite Radiohead songs is the closing track, Separator. What a damn good track this one is. Talk about underrated gems. But I must admit that the album that is still trying to grow on me is Amnesiac. One day I can see myself vibing with it, but right now I just see it at Kid A's annoying little brother. No offense, Tony. One of my favorite things about getting into Radiohead was getting to experience certain firsts with them with Lindsay. In 2016, the band released their long-awaited album, A Moonshaped Pool, and to say that Lindsay was excited would have been an understatement. I remember the two of us both listening to it together for the first time while Lindsay was visiting me in Washington and being absolutely blown away by it. To this day, it's still one of her favorite Radiohead albums due to its rich string ensembles and piano flourishes, but mine as well because of the sentimental reasons attached to it. Another first for us was getting to see the band live for the first time. They had always been on the top of Lindsay's bucket list for bands to see live, and we had the pleasure of seeing them headline at Outside Lands Festival back in 2016 at San Francisco. Lindsay was of course ecstatic to be able to see them live for the first time, and I was too, because I was ready to hear some of my favorite songs like Body Snatchers, Weird Fishes, There, and Let Down. Looking back at it now, I can completely understand where everything went wrong for me for the first time that I heard this band. I went into this band wanting to understand and like them like everyone else did. I was amazed at how many people could connect to their music, and I just couldn't on a first listen. So I just assumed that everyone else was wrong, and I decided that it was cool to hate on them like how sometimes people do with the Beatles. Which of course is funny because back then I also kind of hated the Beatles. But now I can see what everyone else has been seeing for the first time. Not only is each album its own unique experience with plenty of curveballs, but each song feels like its own mystery movie. One that you can like on a first watch, but you're still not sure why, so you watch it again and again, and you start realizing the little intricacies that makes it so special in the first place. The songs bring out so many different unique emotions, ones that you start to realize as you pull the song apart layer by layer. And yes, sometimes it takes being at the right headspace to really appreciate Tom's fragile, but at times powerful voice, or Johnny shaking a lemon. And although I've been really enjoying Tom's side project The Smile quite a bit, I'm excited to see what Radiohead's next album will be because they don't really make the same album twice. But please let me know in the comments what your story with this band looks like. How did you get into them? What was the first song or album that really hooked you in? And sometime in the future, I am going to drop a video where I rank Radiohead's entire discography. But until then, let me know what you think of this essay type video. And until next time, we hope you take care. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.